Hey there everyone, welcome back to another perfect pairing with me. Chalkboard greeting cards are on the menu today. Let's see how to make this card inspired by timeless chalkboard signs. I'm starting with the background first to make the canvas that all my focal elements are going to rest on. I'm using cloud white pigment ink and a panel of cardstock to distress and make a chalk wiped slate background. I have a crumpled piece of packaging filler paper to use as my distressing tool to stamp and wipe the cloud white pigment ink onto the black cardstock. I'm keeping this as random and organic as I can, and I'm making sure to catch the edges of the cardstock too. Don't throw away your crumpled piece of paper, we will need it later in this tutorial. But once I've applied a generous chalkboard looking background, I'll set this aside to dry and work on the focal element to this card. I'm making this card around the holiday season, but you can adapt the florals for your card using springtime florals or other layering floral stamp sets containing outlines. Today I'm using Poinsettia and Berries stamp and die bundle. There is also a re-release of the stamp set for November 2023 called Winter Florals. Either way, I'm starting with a white panel of cardstock in my Altenew Stampwheel. On the top left area of my stamp wheel, I have the poinsettia outline image. I'll use a fine white embossing powder to heat emboss this outline onto white cardstock 4 times. Then I'll align the solid layer stamp of the poinsettia to the white outline. To stamp this layer, I'm going for the darker side of the color spectrum. I think it resembles colored chalks on slate. I'm using Ruby Red from the Red Cosmos Fresh Dye ink family. Then I'll stamp the detail layer in the next darkest ink in Red Cosmos, Grapevine. Now with this heat embossed resist technique, you'll get some ink transfer onto the melted plastic powder. I'm using a dry microfiber cloth to rub the ink off the embossing powder. You'll get ink transfer and feathering onto the uninked portions of the card, but that's okay, we will fix that in a bit. I want the powder to remain as bright white as I can. So that's 2 of the poinsettia images where I focused on coloring the bracts. For the other white embossed panel, I'll color the outlines again using a True Leaf palette. I'm using Greenfield's Fresh Dye ink in Forest Glades to color the solid layer. Then Evergreen to color the detail layer. And again, I'm using the microfiber cloth to wipe the ink off the embossed outline. I want to fill the outline of the embossed poinsettia elements with a black or slate margin. If you have the jet black artist marker, you can use that, but I grabbed a dark gray instead to keep things consistent with the background cardstock. I have charcoal suits from the Beach Garden artist marker set, and I'm tracing the outline of the bracts and leaves. This will also cover up the feathering left over from wiping the ink from the embossing powder. While that stamped ink dries, I white heat emboss the holly branch image from Poinsettia and Berries. Ignore the poinsettia image on the top left, I was experimenting with something. But once everything was heat set, I used the coordinating Poinsettia and Berries die set to cut the red bracts, green leaves, and the white outline holly branch. To give these images a chalky appearance, I'm going to repeat the distressing steps just as I did for the background. Here's the cloud white pigment ink and that crumpled piece of packaging paper again. I'm going to randomly apply blotches of pigment ink to all the die cut pieces. I don't want to cover up too much of the outline, but I thought the grungy look from the pigment ink felt more rustic and lived in, like a restaurant menu sign. I'll set all these images to the side to dry and work on the next element to this pairing. To complete this restaurant menu chalkboard sign greeting card, I need a sentiment. There is a selection of holiday and Christmas die-cut greetings on the Altenew website, but I want to make my own bold sentiment. You can adapt this technique to your die-cut sentiment words and individual letter dies. With Mighty Alphabet die set, I'm choosing a 5-letter word at most. You'll see that 5 letters fit beautifully on a portrait-oriented A2-sized panel. I picked the word cheer, not share, to create my generic holiday greeting. I cut the word twice from white cardstock and once from black cardstock. I'm using the sticky mat grid from the Stampwheel to hold these fine die cuts while I arrange and glue them. I'm looking at the textured grid on the sticky mat to help align and space my letters. I'm starting with one of the white cardstock die cuts first. Then with liquid adhesive, I'm gluing and offsetting the black cardstock on top of the white cardstock cheer. The grid helps keep this spacing consistent. You may need to adjust the spacing of your letters, but after the black cardstock is placed, then I'll continue the drop shadow pattern with the last white cardstock letters. I'm using the grid on the Altenew cutting mat to get my spacing planned for the card front. Then with a piece of satin masking tape, I'll pick up the sentiment to easily set aside for later. To arrange this card, I'm gluing everything on top of the distressed chalkboard background from the first step of this video. I'm cutting fragments of the poinsettia bracts and leaves, and also creating fragments of the holly branch. Then once I glue all the pieces to the chalkboard background, I can align and glue the drop shadow cheer die cut greeting. I'm adding pure white ink spray splatters all over the poinsettia bouquet and the chalkboard background to roughly embellish this arrangement. And that finishes my winter greeting card featuring a chalkboard greeting inspired design. My series encourages you to shop your existing Altenew stash and rekindle their love with newer releases. Perfect Pairings with Jaycee airs on the Altenew channel every second and fourth Sunday of the month. Please make sure you like and subscribe if you haven't already. Thank you so much for tuning in to this Perfect Pairing episode with me, and I'll see you in the next one.
Hello there! Did that video just spark your creativity? And do you want more project ideas and inspiration videos too? Well, if you do, please make sure that you subscribe to the Altenew YouTube channel. Also, make sure that you do click that notification bell so you don't miss a video. Thanks so much for watching. Bye bye!